Hello, everyone. Welcome and happy July. Welcome to July. I hope everybody's doing great. It's that sunny month where we have to make sure we have sunscreens, make sure we are hydrated, and making sure that we um, stay out of the sun as much as we can and be out in it as much as we can. Well, welcome again to another episode of NDISCO'S Village Meeting Podcast. And leading the discussion today, again, I am hosting, and my name is Dr. Maslin M.OPARAOJI. This is our episode 29, Series 2. Today, I wanted to expand on um, a topic that I think we have been missing for quite some time in most of our settings, whether it's for on the young Africans in diaspora, or those at the home base or homestead. Like I said that that's those residents permanently or semi-permanently in the continent of Africa. So when I say something about the younger Africans, they are the ones everywhere, despite some of the differences in their environments or backgrounds where they're being brought up. I think in most cases, if not up to 90% of the cases, their issues are the same. So today I want to talk about the untapped young Africans. And I'm going to explain what that means. We're going to start by asking ourselves, who are they? And why do we have to involve them early in community development and events? So it's a big topic and could take days, but I want to just marshal out 10 things that where we could focus. Um, when I talked last time, I had the privilege or the opportunity of being invited to give a, a talk on a similar topic, but not, that's actually at a very high level. The title was The Role of Youth in the Call to Action for Modern African Renaissance, or Renaissance, like some people say. And it really was a global presentation because I was invited by a joint group who presented such topics and more. It was like a conference to many young ones. And what we were telling them was actually how they can help Africa in their respective abilities. And this was a joint, and that's how important this topic is and was. I think I presented this sometime last year. It was a joint effort by Howard University in Washington, D.C., and the Howard University Center for African Studies, the Global Peace Foundation, UNESCO, um, in partnership with University of Lagos and Ochaja University, or Jaja University, sorry, um, plus KU8, and the University of Kadi Ayad in Marrakesh, Morocco. We also had the University of Free State, South Africa, um, the university, the publication of that, and university consortium. And all of these came together to present or sponsor this presentation by various people that were involved or invited. And I had the privilege of being one. And when we addressed this, it was really received well, because these were community thoughts by a lot of schools of thought who are trying to share with our young ones what they can do for Africa. It's not just what Africa can do for them. So in our episode today, I wanted to break that down a little bit. That huge topic that I presented the role of the youth in building in the call to action. I'm turning the table a little bit today to say we are calling them to action, but on the other side of the coin, what are we? How do we get them to come to the action? What are we asking them to do? Because that's where some of their questions are. What are our parents asking us to come do? What is there? We don't want to be told what to do. We want to add, we want to give our own thoughts to what they are asking us to do. So today we're diving into that. And again, I keep saying to everybody, I only know much about Nigeria. I know a little bit about everywhere else, but I try to go, like they say, charity begins at home, from my little community in Mbise, or big community actually, it's an Mbise nation, to the next level, my state, to my country, Nigeria. But again, based on my tribe, I'm Igbo, and the Igbo tribe, has a lot of culture and all that. So remember, our podcast sits on African culture, African society, and everything around that. So let's delve into this topic and see what we have. So we are saying that we want these young ones to help. So how are we, the adults, bringing them into focus? And I remember in a joint meeting on some kind of planning going on by a community, I mentioned this to them. And I said to them, you got to create, because these people are becoming a gap. There is a gap between where the elders are and the younger ones we keep talking about, the youths. There is this young adult group in the middle that nobody taps into. And who are they? Most of them fall in one category or two categories or many. But these are who they are, the young adult professional. These are those who have graduated from college. They are lawyers, they are doctors, they are engineers, and all that. They completed and they now have a job. But some of them consider themselves too young to marry. So they are in that category, but they have money, they're making money. So that is that group. And remember, one of the things that is universal to all these are that they're no longer living with their parents. They're now living, on their own and in their furnished apartments, or even most of them have bought houses. But they don't have those responsibilities that their parents used to shoulder and all that. So we got to think about them. How do we pull them in to help? They are willing, but how? The other group is the young adult professional. These ones, um, they have just completed their education and they're looking for a job. They no longer live with their parents. Actually, they've left the home for long years. They bring back their dirty, dirty laundry once in a while when they're in college, or they like mommy's cooking. They would like to come see dad and see everybody in the household and the siblings, but they no longer live there permanently. They visit. So that is another group. The other group is the unmarried professionals. Okay, those other two that we mentioned, these ones are unmarried and they could belong to the number one and number two that I mentioned. They're already educated, they have a job or they're seeking a job, they're not married. So, and most of them are under 40, under 38. They don't have any responsibilities or anything, and they are no longer being told what to do, generally. Okay, but that doesn't mean they don't still need um, somebody to listen to them, dad, mom, and everybody else. The number four group is the just married group, young African with no children. So these are the ones who they have a job, they have education, they found a significant other that they want to enjoy life with a little bit before having the children. Now, some of them resolve not to have children. So this is the category there. They're no longer with parents, they live on their own, but they are not here or there. So the next talk is to, look at them in the category as to where do they fall in into your community. Do they even come to any events? Do you invite them? How do you invite them? So we talk about that. Now we have the next one, the married young adults with 1 to 3 children, one child, 2 children, three, some of them more, or, just one, with, their dogs and their cats. And they're still under 38. Okay. The other category is the trained professionals in skills. They didn't go to college. They didn't graduate from any four walls of the university or anything, but they are trained in this skills, in technological skills, trades, and all that. Most of them are self-employed, and they have all it takes. They're making their money. Some of them are married, some of them are not married, and that's how they're living their lives. They no longer are being told what to do by their parents. The last group is there, the young Africans, the uneducated ones, unskilled. They don't have skills. They are not employed. They're still just finding their ways, but they're getting older. Okay, they no longer belong to the youth category. They now belong to the adult, young adult category, which is a little bit higher from the youths. And these ones are still finding their way, but it doesn't mean that they don't belong anywhere. So what is common with all these seven categories that I mentioned that I coined untapped young Africans? These are the ones when their parents are in the meetings. For example, they have community meetings or community feasts and events. They don't bother to come. It's easier to grab the younger ones, the youths and the children, smaller ones, to come along with parents. Those ones will willingly or unwillingly come, and parents will drag them. But these middle ones that I was describing, those categories, they're no longer under your roof, so you don't have power to drag them back and forth. They have their own money. They are now focused on things like going to destinations to have fun every time they eat out when they like, and they may never cook or anything. That is the group. They have something to offer, but nobody is tapping into them to come offer. So we need to make sure we are not overlooking this group of people. And that's why I keep calling attention to them. The parents now, this is now in your court because they don't know what to do. We didn't start early to involve them. There is that gap that now we don't have anybody to hand the baton to in this relay of cultural life. We don't have anybody who will say, in some cases there are, but majority of the cases, the nature of their meetings that the adults or their fathers and mothers and all that hold, it doesn't create room for them to come into and be part of. Nobody asks them their opinion. It just the mentality that, especially in the African culture, we have that we tell our children what to do. We don't really need their opinion. What do they know? The tides have changed. The paradigms have shifted. Today, we need their opinions because we live in a world that is operated mostly on their own environmental knowledge. So, what are they? So why should we involve them? What made me go into looking at this? And there is no, let's think about it this way. All these universities I mentioned before, the Global Peace Foundation, uh, the African Studies areas, UNESCO, you know, South African universities, open air universities, all of them are looking into how do we make this young ones go in. And that was a topic that was given to me. And I had to really look into to say, how do we bring these people in? And this is at the national level, at the really continental level. But this time around, I want you to come with me and think, how do we bring them to the community level? For example, I'll use my community in Mbise. Let me start to say that in most of even the WhatsApp groups that we have, the platforms that we discuss things about my community, rarely do you have the young ones that are being invited to give their voices without being shut down or without being cajoled for maybe saying something that is out of the ordinary, that their own parents who are now old from using archaic ideas are now telling them, what do you know? So they shut up. They just get out. We got to change that. In the meetings, the gatherings, rarely do you see them unless it's their own people, their own age grades wedding, or their own grade doing something, and you see them on one side doing their thing. And then I even resorting to having destination weddings because their parents try to put ideas that are no longer, in the fitting box of their own. So let's look at the 10 ideas that I think they will bring to the table if we invite them. They will bring fresh perspectives and innovative ideas. We need to all remember, as the elders or the older Africans or their parents, need to remember that these young Africans now, the young adults, they are growing up in an environment all their own that is different from ours. What does that mean? It means that they have the world that is going on now. They will bring fresh ideas that can lead to new solutions, for all these community challenges. We talk about building universities, building hospitals, building that. And we are, believe it or not, still thinking in our old thinking ways, the way our parents brought us up. But these younger ones have easier ways to do things. That's why some of us, when we work with them in corporate instances, you think you're giving them, something to run with, and it will take a day. They come back with the solution within minutes or hours, and it's easy here. And they have all the tools. And so if you are thinking the old ways, you are wasting their time and you are wasting their talents. So they are very talented. They will be able to help their parents change environments and embrace the new technologies there too. They will bring in the modernization that we're talking. We have this slogan, especially in the MindBC community, where we say we want to move it from the third world country status to a first world one. It can be done. These children have all the tools and everything, but we, the parents, the elder ones, we need to let go, bring in their talent and tap into their talent. Number two is the energy and enthusiasm. What does that mean? They bring that. They have high energy, these young ones of ours, and they bring enthusiasm, which can help us, drum up the sentiments we have, the energy we have, that gingering, what I call gingering, the community development efforts that we keep bringing forward. The good thing is that sometimes we bring these ideas forward or these things that the community needs, but then we sit on our hours because nobody does anything else about it. But give it to these young ones, they will run with it. When you trust them to do it, they will do it. They commit. That is the thing. So they bring the motivation and they will commit their passion to make a difference. And by so doing, they're also pulling their own fellow younger ones, younger adults into it, to get involved and to contribute. And that is how this relay baton is handed over to the next generation. The skill sets and expertise they will bring. Many of them are already professionals, whether from the high-tech aspect or to the skill set aspect. That's what I think. Okay. And they possess these valuable skills and expertise in various fields, be it technology, businesses, healthcare, and education. Our young adults are in there. The young professionals, are in there. Let's tap them. We're not doing so. We can also use them to enhance the overall capacity of the community. We can provide them training. They can help us build that training. And there is no better training than peer-to-peer training. It doesn't have to be the adults, the older or elderly teaching them. We train a few and leave them to train others. I used to do this thing when I was, handle the young ones in various groups. Example, my Amuzi development group. I would give the charge, for example, outing. I would give the charge to the bigger young boys or girls and say to them, hey, the responsibility is that nobody gets lost, everybody gets fed, and everybody behaves. And you give them that trust, and they will come back with excellent results and everybody intact. The thing is that sometimes they feel we don't trust them, and they have voiced it. We don't trust them, but we have to start doing so. The other one is the role models and leadership. Positive role models, um, are exhibited by majority of these young ones. Okay. Um, for them being younger generation, they also have demonstrated their ability by pursuing education and importance of it. In their places of work that they have secured, they work hard, and they can bring all that to community involvement. They could leverage what you guys have and build more on that. They can take on leadership roles in Africa, the continent, and in our various areas. We have this habit of thinking the older ones know better. Why don't I'm one of those who advocate for the young women? Most of the times, whether it's women organizations and so, they want me to be at the head. And I'm one of those who advocate for a younger person to pick up. And we, as the older ones, will really help them navigate that muddy water of leadership. And when I say to some of my fellow women, they frown at it. I'm like, no, they don't know. No, these young ones can do much more than we are giving them credit to. The only thing is that we don't really trust to hand them that responsibility. So they can drive initiatives with their leadership roles that they do in schools. They bring it to our community events and our communities. Um, and they advocate for policies that will benefit for the community or benefit the whole community. They are capable of doing that and more. If in doubt, look at when they organize their own things. You know, they do wonders. You wonder how they do that, but they organize their own lives and everything. Why not? Now the next one is the social awareness and advocacy. Um, these young professionals are already aware of social issues. They swim in them every day. They live them. Okay. They advocate when in their various communities they see such things, they will advocate for change, whether it be in healthcare, education, or human rights. When we were talking about drugs in the community, they know themselves. Hand them to hand the responsibility to them. They will, handpick those who are really the culprits in order to clear that. But we have to give them the responsibility, that trust. When you have talents for them to choose who could do what, you see them pick them or fetch them because they now have a peer to peer communication or relationship to strive in. Okay. Um, their active participation can raise awareness. And when they have their fellows that they are bringing in to talk about the same thing, it gets escalated to another level where they will bring help into the community. They will mobilize others to address whatever issues that are going on. I'll tell you that today, the security issues we are talking about in the communities, if we arm them with good efforts, it doesn't have to be guns and knives and machetes, but if we really put that trust in them that we want this safe, they know where the skeletons are buried. They will fetch those people out that are really creating menace in the community. Economic impact. These young professionals, they're making money. Let me tell you that. That's the reason why in some of my episodes, I tell them where they can, give them ideas of where they can invest. I don't tell them where to go, but ideas of these possibilities, and they can invest in that. Our job as older adults of African origin, to really guide these young ones in ways that they can leverage what they already have. Okay, they can really comfortably contribute financially and support local enterprises. So we can tell them these are our needs, and we watch them bring in that money or bring in whatever efforts that can boost our local economy. I mentioned also in NBC at that time, the burgers, hamburgers, and French fries that people used to have to go to Owerri. It's now in my NBC. We have, top hotels springing up here and there. Fast food is coming in and all that. This is what it's not just in NBC. Do it in every other community. And these young ones are the ones that are going to bring those in, not the older ones. Okay. They can launch again businesses, like I said, that create job opportunities and stimulate economy within the community. This is what I'm talking about. Tell them what you need, invite them, make them part of what you are doing, and they will come. Now, let's talk about cultural and social integration. That is a tough one. That is a big one. That is where we are lacking, because when you get them into this arena or this fair, you've gotten them to step into every other area. They can help the community organize cultural activities, whether it's in Mbise USA or Urige Mbise, for example, you know, or even at the state level or at the national level. Get these young ones involved. When you're calling all these chiefs and essays and ambassador this and the lift us once a little bit and call the young professionals. This is our young medical doctor. He is 25 years old, or here is our another. She is, 20 years old. Here is our engineer. I want them to be at the table. You invite them, they will invite their own friends. Give them that honor. That's all they are. They don't even want big names. They just want to say, oh, my people recognize me, and they will come. They will bring the money as well. So, when you organize events that celebrate and preserve those cultural heritage and traditions, make them come, even if they can't speak the language as much as you want it to be. That might really whet their appetites to getting more, to learn more. Okay. By fostering all this inclusion, you know, it really gets them to get into dialogue with the parents and with the community, and collaboration as well. So young professionals, I know, and I have seen them do this, can strengthen social bonds within the community. You know, one is from this other village or this other village, they get to know each other. They start talking about joint ventures and all that. They can do that. They could do it. Okay. So let's start thinking that way. And even when they come home, some of them, or those at home, do they even go to Awurawo, what we call Awurawo, where on the village day, market day, the men are gathering to drink their palm wine and talk about elevating the community? How many of your children are there? The women as well. Who says the young ones cannot come in, even if they're married or not? So the young female ones. So think about that. We are not involving them enough. Sustainability and environmental awareness. On that topic, we're talking about young adults who, are neglected when we're talking about things to make the community healthy when it comes to things that affect health. Remember, these young adults are more environmentally conscious than we used to be, I think, because now with the climate change and all that, they know that they can bring initiatives such as recycling if you don't, and conservation efforts. This is happening in all other parts of the world. Why not in Africa? Why not in our communities? Okay? So their involvement can help or educate the community about environment and the issues about environment and promote practices that can help us move forward or stay healthy. Number 9 is networking and collaboration. Okay, all these are young professionals, like I mentioned, all those 9 categories can leverage their networks. They have a lot. Remember, today is the era of smartphones and all kinds of phones and all kind of hand devices and all that. They can reach anybody, anywhere, anytime, and they are doing that. They have lots of followers with them. They can use those networks to bring resources, opportunities, and expertise to our communities. Again, when we are holding something like MBC USA, for example, even in diaspora, the youth young, they are doing so well with their cultural awareness. They come. We have the elders who fly in from everywhere. They come. But in the middle, those ones that period will go away to somewhere, their parents are not even telling them that much to come in. Or they'll say, I give them alone, they don't follow us and all that. But these are people who, I don't know how many of you have heard of Umibo Unite. IUI is an event that happens, I think, every year. And most of them come back to tell us stories of, I know children around me, the young ones, including mine, who are very religious in going to this. Why? Because it's teaching them about culture, gives them some things about the professions they are in. There are, fellow, young adults there who are yet to marry, and some of them have succeeded in getting wives or husbands from these gatherings. There could be a mini IUI, Umibo Unite, or Umumbise Unite, or whatever, Umo, or whether Unite anywhere. Okay? Umo Enugu Unite, Umo Ahab Unite. So you can have those in each of these cultural areas and watch it grow. That's what we're advocating. The ability to collaborate with various stakeholders within these events or groups can enhance the effectiveness and reach of the community development initiatives, actually. So I hope we are all listening. And the last but not the least is the personal growth and fulfillment. You see, when these young ones, young professionals, I call them, because I have to differentiate them, between that and the ones that are younger than 30, 28, 25, that are part of what we also call young adults, but they are still under their parents' supervision because they are still in college being paid for by parents. But these other ones I'm talking about, they are just caught in between. Okay? They're not here or there. Okay, but involving them provides them with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Some of you who have listened to my podcast or some talks sometime will tell you that I talk about this group as a group in conflict. Whether in diaspora or at the homestead, the young adults, African adults today, are at crossroads because they don't know which way to go. There is so much being thrown at them, or there are so much being thrown at them that it's hard for them to focus. Some of them are trying their best, but then their parents or the elders, instead of giving them kudos to the ones they are able to do, call them names and call them, not good names actually. But they don't understand. Some of them don't understand what these young ones are going through. So one of the ways we can help them is to get them involved in these community development efforts and events so that they will have a sense of purpose and fulfillment. This will empower them to make a meaningful impact in their lives. There was a reason why in one of my episodes I talked about Dirty December. Now, After that podcast, a lot of them who even didn't want to go home, I'm like, Auntie, what is 30 December? We want to go home to see this. Now, some of them who are so scared that, oh, Nigeria, for example, with insecurity and all that, then I'm like, whoa, people are going home for all days. We're going to go. So this is the way you whet their appetites. You tell them what they don't know, and they will jump on that. So when you have them engaged in community projects and events and all that, it allows them to develop new skills. It allows them to gain experiences, and they grow both personally and professionally. Like I said again, most of them are already they're skilled in whatever they do, they're experts in whatever they do in other people's countries or in the cities, even at home, homestead, that we need them to bring those ideas home. But we got to make it possible for that to happen. We got to invite them, write them letters directly. I remember one yam festival we did somewhere, and we were able to call one of the young ones. I don't think he was even 25 then, but he used to help me organize some of the younger ones. We called him to the table because at that time he started, becoming a lecturer in the university. Very, very smart. He just got his doctorate and all that. You could see the pride on his face, being honored by his own people, giving him that accolade and elevating him to that. Oh, he's sitting on the table while his own parents are sitting, on the regular table, away from the high table. So it was a sense of pride, and he really was able to, give them something to acknowledge that. So I'm asking everybody, please, and all associations out there, hunker down, ask parents to give you a list of the young ones, professionals, who are no longer under their roofs and who are no longer answering to them per se of the day-to-day activities. It doesn't mean they don't come back to parents. I mean, children always will go back to their parents or their elders to say, ask for one thing or the other. But in majority of the cases, they are in there doing their own thing. We must involve them. We must pull them in. Nobody is doing that in most cases today. So, having said that, in summary, we're going to uh, uh, think about what we have just said in all other areas. Why do we have to involve these young ones or adults of the category I mentioned earlier, those 9 categories? Okay. Is because when we tap into them, we are tapping into a dynamic and resourceful group that can drive positive change. Let's try them. Give them some responsibilities and see them run. That's what they are being groomed for. They promote sustainable development. What does that mean? When you want to propagate something, you want this culture we're talking about to be going on when we are all gone, the elders. We got to start now, not tomorrow. Any event, start with 10. And the other ones will say, oh, what about me? They will even invite and provide their own names to come. Okay. We need $20,000 from you for this XYZ. You see them pull themselves together and come to the rescue of their community. Because they also improve the overall quality of life within their communities. They are our tomorrow. Their contributions are vital for building resilient, thriving, and inclusive communities. We must remember that. We may not be there till the end to see. I keep saying that to people and they're laughing. I'm like, no, you are still here. Why are you saying that? We may not see the promised land, but if we show our young ones what it looks like, what it could be like, and help them build with their talents, with their ideas, and we keep reminding them of what culture says and all that, we and modify the aspects of culture that we can do, or explain to them why XYZ cannot be changed, I bet we are going to get to that promised land, or have an idea, restful idea that we get there. Okay. So this will be our talk today. I hope you recognize who I call the untapped young Africans. There were 9 categories of those. Look that up again, who they are, and why do we have to involve them? Because they are our tomorrow. And I narrowed them down to 10 points of what to have in mind. And this could be easily transformed into a to-do list of, did we do this? Did we do that? Did we tap into them this way? Did we ask for this way? So remember, when you get them together and say to them, my young ones, our young ones, this is the who, what, when, how, and this is what the result will look like that we want at the end. It will give you a polished and more quality ones than you ever think of as their elders. So with that today, I hope the various communities in Bise, in Imo State, in Nigeria, in Igbo land, in West Africa, Africa, the entire continent will start now to think about this group that is untapped. And again, I thank you for joining me. This is your hostess, Dr. Maslina and NDISCO'S, thanking you and saying, please continue to subscribe, continue to follow, please continue to share with others, and especially with the young ones, what we are trying to put together. We are listening to you, we are hearing you, and we have a long list of things that you have requested us to talk about. But if you like what we're doing, you must subscribe, you must share. And I thank you all, because a lot of the downloading, according to my host, um, um, my podcast host, is giving me the kudos because it's increasing. A lot of people are beginning to listen. So I thank you all for that. We have more to come, especially this period of yam harvest, which is between July and August ending. And we'll dwell much more on that, including other things. So thank you very, very much. And I appreciate you all. Bye-bye.